Oh, I think the microphone is off. Oh, now I can see the hall. Yes. Can you hear me, Jessica? All right. Okay. Okay.
Can you hear us? Hi, David. Oh, and there's Peter.
Jessica, I've got no sound.
Hello, David.
Yes. Hello, Peter. I can hear you. Okay. All right. Fine. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Very good. Thanks, Jessica.
Can you see me, David?
Not. Yes. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Actually, I can't yet. I did see you, Peter, and then
Oh.
now wait a minute. Now I've got a. I'm getting some. I've got a picture now of a gathering at Plymouth Plantation. Live.
Yes, there's no one there, is there? I can't see anyone there.
Can you see yourself?
Yeah, I can.
Can you see anybody else?
No, I can see you.
Well, you can see me. Well, that's more than I can do because I can see myself, but nobody else.
No, you can't see Plymouth.
Yes, I could see. Yes, I saw the picture of Plymouth. Yes.
Right. Well, that's strange.
It's in.
There's no one at Plymouth, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I've got you, but but the pictures are now blurred.
Oh. Now you're well in focus for me. All the pictures here are good.
Oh, well, that's. Well, that's funny. I'm.
Trouble is, there's no one at Plymouth to help you at the moment.
Well, Plymouth, I've
Did you phone Jessica?
Well, she phoned me and said she was going into to say that she was ready and she was going into the other room to see whether she could find us, and I've got two pictures. I've got, as well as, I don't know what you've got, Peter, but as well as the picture of the people gathering around the fire, underneath that it's got Plymouth Plantation Hangouts on Air, and it's got a Mayflower live discussion, and then on the right next to that it's got a picture of the auditorium and saying live.
Yeah.
So well, I'm going to wait until
Here comes Jessica.
I'm going to click join Hangout again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jessica. And I've just gone back to join Hangout, and I've clicked on it, and something's coming up.
I think I can hear you now.
Okay, it's coming up.
Okay, I can hear you.
Good. I've got the green question mark going backwards and forwards, but nothing else happening.
I wonder if it's loading.
Oh, there. Yes, there are. It's got a picture of me. Well, it's got some rather static pictures of me, as if I look awful. Never mind.
You've gone.
Gosh.
I'm afraid I've lost you.
Well, I've only got a sort of static picture of myself.
You've come back.
All right.
So now, can both of you gentlemen hear us?
Hello?
Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you, Jessica, but that's all. My screen is now sort of dark, black shaded all out. There's a picture of me again, but a static picture. Waiting for
Well,
local host, it says.
I can see you.
Yeah, we can see you just fine. Okay, I can see both of you and hear both of you nice and clearly.
Yeah, I can see you.
I can only see myself. It doesn't matter, does it? Oh, wait a minute. It's offering me.
But David, you can see Peter and you can see us, correct?
No. I could see a static picture of myself, but suddenly it suddenly offered me to join a discussion, and it's now loading. So perhaps it's just very, very slow here.
Yeah, it might be so.
Could be.
Page unresponsive. The following become unresponsive. Plymouth Plantations become unresponsive. So,
Mostly, David, if you can hear us, that's fine.
shall I go back and start again?
I think if you can hear us, you should be all set because we can see you.
Okay. Well, if that's all right, as long as well, let's not worry. If it's working, it doesn't matter if I can't see anything. That's fine.
Okay.
Can we see you?
Can you see Peter?
Can you see me, David?
Hi, Peter. Hear me? Can you see me? Hi, Peter.
Hello, Marietta.
How are you?
I'm well. Very nervous.
Oh, don't be. We've done this before many years ago, and it's going to be wonderful. Once you get talking, you are wonderful. Where's Jane? Is Jane around listening to you?
Yeah, David's gone now. I can't see him.
He'll come back. But Peter, it's going to be very basic, simple questions. You're going to be wonderful.
Well, my problem is I've written down a few answers, and I don't want this to sound like a speech. I want it to sound natural. It's going to be quite difficult, I think.
No, you know, when I went back and I saw your interview, you were one of the best ones we interviewed. You were great.
Well, it's nice of you to say so.
True. I will.
You've got a completely empty auditorium behind you.
Can you hear me through this, David?
Hello?
Can you hear through this? If I speak to you through this?
No.
No. Okay.
No, she was just using the microphone.
Oh.
But, the people, they're going to love you, both you. They're going to love all three of you. It's so exciting that we get to have more people learn the story. You know how I feel about it. I mean, I'd stand on the street corner and tell the 1957 story if I could. And guess what? I'm flying to Kentucky next week to get the award.
Oh, next week.
Yep, next Thursday I fly. John Kemp and I, who is my advisor, we're flying to Kentucky. The award ceremony is that Friday. Mm-hmm. And they said there's going to be 1,000 people attending it.
Really? Gosh, what, from all over?
Yeah.
Or is it just Massachusetts?
No, all over the United States. And
all over. Oh, David's back again.
Yeah, I know. I competed with every museum in the United States and every museum in Canada.
That is amazing.
It was
That's
amazing.
Terrific.
I know, and I'm so excited because that means all those people are going to hear somewhat of the 1957 story, and it can't get better than that.
And you're going to play this to them, are you? You're going to play this recording.
I don't think so, because there are other museums getting the awards. There's going to be museums like Mystic Seaport is getting the award for working on the whaling ship, the Morgan. It took
Oh, yes.
years. So museums will get the award if they've done an exhibit or like the Morgan restored it. So it's going to be a long evening. The History Channel is sponsoring it.
Right.
So I'm really, I'm excited. I've never been to Kentucky before.
Well, nor have
But I know I have you and David and all the crew that night. I'm sure from the watch below will be looking down at me with a great big smile.
Well, I'm sure you're right. Mm.
Yeah. So is Jane? If Jane is around, she's going to listen to you, right?
Sorry?
Is Jane in the other room? Is she?
Yeah, she's in the other room in case I need any help.
Great.
But at the moment, it seems to be going okay.
Good.
Except David's gone again.
Yeah, where's David? We don't. Well, I just want to talk to Jessica. Jessica, where's David?
He must be trying to reconnect. We'll try to reconnect with him if we don't see him in the next 2 minutes or so.
Yeah. And this really will go by so fast, Peter. It doesn't seem it now, but it's going to go by pretty fast. And,
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I hope I get over my nerves.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I've done a lot of interviews to television, but this one is difficult because it's so long ago, and I've had to try and remember what I felt like so long ago.
You will, because you did excellent once you got going, when we were interviewing you, it was almost like you were back in that time. So you did excellent, because I went over all your interviews.
When was that? How many years ago was that?
I don't remember.
Quite a long time, I think.
Yeah, but we have you on our website. So.
Okay.
Hi, David.
David's arrived.
I seem to be back.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'm not going to touch anything.
Great. Okay. So I think we're ready to. Everybody should be coming in a few minutes, and then we'll get started as soon as we fill the room. Okay.
Okay.
Gosh, is that room going to be full? Oh, God.
We're going to have the best time. I wish you could come for lunch today. But I'm so really proud of this day. I mean, to have 30 more people learn the story, you guys are just extraordinary. I mean, it all comes from my heart. And I'm so proud to be here to really actually talk with you today. So I didn't want to start crying.
Well, it's very nice for you to say that.
Oh,
David's back.
Yes, hi, David. I'm really
Hello, Marietta.
I
heard what you said over the.
Did you?
Thank you very much.
I mean, Peter, I'm a little nervous too. I mean, but I'm really excited. It'll go by really faster than what you think. We'll be fine.
Well, I hope I appear natural and not scripted, but that's going to be difficult.
Oh, you're Peter. You're a distinguished historian. You're supposed to be stiff and terribly erudite.
Scripted, not stiff. Scripted.
Of course you are. It's fine.
Once you both start.
Have you jotted down what you're going to say, David?
Sorry?
Have you jotted down what you're going to say? I've
got an idea, but I'm not going to read. The trouble is, you can't read it because it doesn't appear natural. So
that's my view.
I've got a few things don't want to forget. Marietta, when is this going to start?
Yeah, what?
Start. It starts at 10:30 our time.
So at 3:30 your time. Oh, we've got another half hour.
Oh, we've got
No,
half an hour.
Half an hour.
That's fine. Good. Well, I'm not going to dare touch anything in case I disappear again.
No, you're not going to go anywhere, David.
No, but hello, Matt.
Okay. Can't do this without you guys.
Hello, Jessica.
Oh.
Oh, it's
That's too much.
yeah, it's too bright.
Well, this is a marvelous setup, I must say.
Who is? Tell us again. Who is the audience? It's not. Those are not all trustees, are they?
There's trustees and there's what's Tom. What is? Come here. Tom's going to tell you because he's in charge of that.
This is gone.
Tom.
It's the trustees, museum council members, and honorary trustees, as well
All right.
as well as some guests, some friends.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so now they
Are you hearing me all right and Peter all right? Because
Yeah,
my sound of you here is rather poor.
you guys sound great on our end.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the main thing. Okay. Good.
Where's Mary?
She's with my daughter and grandson.
Oh,
She's not allowed in. She's not allowed in here.
all right. It is pouring outside, so some of the trustees could be late because we're having a downpour right now.
Really, are you? Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's rather nice here. We're having one day of sun.
we
So,
we needed the rain because it's been like 93 degrees. We've been going through a really, really hot summer.
incredibly hot. Yeah. Oh, that's getting much. That made the picture much better. Whatever you did there.
I mean, not me. I understand. David, I told Peter
That's better.
I fly next Thursday to Kentucky.
You what? Sorry.
I fly next Thursday to Kentucky for the award ceremony.
Oh, right. Well, you look great, Marietta. You're going to look lovely there.
Thanks. I've never been to Kentucky, but everybody said if I go to drink bourbon, I guess they're known to make bourbon down there. Not that I've ever tasted bourbon before, but I'm excited. John Kemp's going with me. So I'm really glad John's going with me because we have to change planes. So I don't end up in Alabama or some other southern state. It'll be fun.
Oh, it will be fun. And how many people will be there, Mary?
They say about 1,000 because of the fact that it's been a conference all week. So the people, it's one of the biggest conferences we have in the United States. So it says most people go to the conference want to go to that awards ceremony that night. So they said maybe 1,000. So
Gosh.
I know. I hope I don't. I mean, I don't know. I hope I don't have to make a speech because.
Well, of course you'll have to make a speech.
Well, I kind of wrote something really quick, but you guys will be amongst me that night for sure. Yeah, I'm not big on speeches.
Peter, are you hearing Marietta well?
Um,
I'm getting a sort of on-off type of. It's never very loud.
Well, here, if I talk directly into the mic, can you hear me?
Oh, that's better.
All right,
That's
so
much
that.
better. Yeah.
Okay, so I will tell. I'll tell Jessica. They all left me. I
Yeah.
don't know where they are.
Yeah, that's
I'll
much
tell
better.
Jessica that we need to speak right into the mic.
Yes, you do. That's fine. Yeah. You can hear us okay though?
Oh God, yeah, you're very, very, very clear. So Joe Meany is coming.
Good.
We put him up in a hotel last night, and he should be here soon. But like I said, because it's really heavy rains right now, I think everybody's going to be late. I mean, we put Joe up at the Radisson, so that's not far from here. You know where we put everybody when you all came, so he should be fine.
yes, I remember the Radisson.
Yeah. So that's yeah. Okay, Jessica.
Peter.
If we speak right into that mic, it's clearer for him. So another.
Peter.
Yeah.
Did you get when Marietta was speaking then?
Yeah.
I had quite a sort of.
Oh, can you hear us?
Good car. Good car.
Get that at all? Or,
I'll go get Joe.
Okay, Joe actually just arrived.
I'm gonna go get
hello.
Joe.
Hello.
Oh, you're back again.
Yeah. Peter, did you get Marietta switched off and then on again? when she was speaking?
No, I found a certain reverberation, but she did.
All right, okay. She actually went off the air for me a bit, but
Oh,
never mind.
perhaps broadband in Richmond.
Yes, down here it's not as good as. Well, I'm supposed to have fast broadband now, but anyway.
No, I find this quite miraculous. You've got a nice lot of books behind you, David.
Oh, they're all written by a famous historian called Peter Hadfield. I mean, they're very valuable books, terribly learned. I'm just reading the reports of the naval attaches in Berlin through about 1895 to 1913. Terribly interesting.
Yeah, how did you get hold of those? I mean, are they published?
So Joe Meany.
We've gone. There's no sound.
Joe Meany.
No, there we
Joe
are.
Meany is walking right down here right now to say a good afternoon to you.
Oh, that's.
We'll be with you in a second. Let me get you back. After talking to them. And here it is, the American cabin boy of Mayflower 2, 1957.
Here's our ship's boy, Peter. Do you think you'll tug his forelock to us?
Oh, there he is, yeah.
Yes, here's our boy.
Well, you've always got a comment, Dave.
Hello, Joe.
How you doing?
You're well, you're young by our standards. I mean, we're just jealous.
I gotta get a name baggage on so I'll know who I am.
Well, we're at the stage. Well,
How you doing?
oh, we're doing fine. You look very smart, Joe. Got a snooker.
No picking on anybody today.
Okay. Yeah, we can declare a truce.
Wow, just for a moment. What is it?
Oh, I don't have a supply of single malt here.
Now, I didn't hear that.
I just said I don't have a supply of single malt. You know, the last time we were together, we had a nice glass of single malt. You forget that?
I've forgotten that.
No, I was just commenting that the last time Dave and I were together, we went to a local pub and enjoyed a glass of single malt stuff together.
Oh, that.
And John Winslow's he's on vacation. I forgot where he said he was going.
He's up in Canada, Western Canada.
Oh, wow. All right, Jessica, tell.
Oh, okay, I'll tell them. So if you guys want to sit front row and just behave.
David just said I have to behave now because the trustees are coming in.
Okay.
All right.
Radio silence, Peter.
I just get Jane in to say hello, Marietta.
What do you say? What do you say?
Honey, baby, come and say hello to Marietta.
Oh, let me say, Jane, where's Jane?
And see if you can see Marietta. Where is she? She's there.
Hello? Hi, Jane, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, great. I'm really excited. I think David and Joe and Peter are going to do a marvelous job this morning. My two hosts. Are you going to listen to it?
Oh, David's saying something.
I just said hello. That was all. Hello, Jane. I can see the top of your hair. That's all. But I know it's you.
Should I put my head up?
Well, this reminds me of the time when we came over and interviewed you. So we're going to have a great time today. So I'm going to sit down and try and behave myself. All right? So
I better go and leave you to Peter, I think.
So, David and Peter,
No, you're not begun yet. Those seats have all got to fill up.
if you could turn the volume on your phone down slightly.
Ah, they're all going to fill up.
I think the seats are all going to fill up.
Oh,
Ask Marietta if all those seats are going to fill
well,
up.
I can't. Oh, she is.
yeah, I'm right here.
Can you do what? Should I turn the sound up?
No, why?
I can't hear her.
Okay, we're going to get started in just a moment.
Ah,
Can you see David?
yes, just.
Just going to disappear for a moment.
Oh, what have you done now?
I've done nothing. All I did was to
David's
tap.
got the other language.
I should have put something in the wash, you see. I was on my way.
Back again.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so David and Peter, can you hear me when I speak through this microphone?
I think you'd better come here.
Well, it's not filling
No,
up
but
yet.
because
But I don't want to sit down for too long.
see what's happening.
Well, nothing's happening. That's got to all fill up, I think.
I just took his jumper off because I wanted to go and get something in the wash for tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
that's all right.
I'll be back in here.
I've got you back, Peter.
Yes. Why? Have we lost sound?
Now I can hear you, and I must say the sound is very sort of on and off, and the picture's very a bit on and off. But
Well, you're there large as life.
well, that's okay then.
Are all those seats going to be filled up, do you think? Is that what the idea is, that people are going to come in?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I
There's
think
no one there at the moment, as far as I can see,
Can hardly see it.
except Jessica.
Oh,
I can see an arm keeps appearing, but
Yes, and there's Jessica peering around.
hello. Did you hear me say I was reading the reports on the naval attaches in Berlin?
Yeah.
Really, really, really interesting.
Did you say it was published? They're published, are they?
Yeah, they're a Navy
Navy Record Society.
Navy records. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I've probably read those at some time, but I certainly can't remember now.
What's that on this wall behind you, Peter? Is that something in a frame?
You know, I don't know what it is, actually. This is
Something.
study.
Something
Look.
Jane hung up.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear us?
Hello? I can hear
Yes.
you. Yes, yes.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay.
Right. In answer to your question, David, that is actually, I didn't know it was there, but that is a reference from the Doomsday Book to the Padfields owning a cara something of land.
It's a what?
Which is, it's a reference from the Doomsday Book.
Oh, really?
Of Padfield's caracom of land, or some
Oh,
peculiar.
really? Oh, you go back to Doomsday.
Right. No. Somewhere in the Peak District, there's a little village, Padfield, still. That's apparently.
Do they put out the flags when you go there? Or?
They don't know anything about me at all.
Oh, they should. Oh, my goodness. The mayor must be told, and he'll bring out the civic.
Well, in fact,
for you.
I've never been there.
Oh, you must. Because there are lots of places called Thorpe because it was terribly common. I mean, a Thorpe was just a village, a name for a village.
Village, yeah. So
And,
you're a
and
village.
if you were just Thorpe, you were just of the village. You didn't have a skill. I mean, you weren't a butcher or a baker or anything like that. You just of the village. So far too many for us to visit.
David of the village.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right.
No, I didn't know Jane had got that up there. I don't know where she got it from. Ah, I see some people.
Oh, so do I.
There's some people coming on. The difficulty here is not being too technical, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Not that I can remember much of the technical.
no, that's right. That's the same thing with me. Remember the back and the front. And Joe, we've got young Joe. We've got young Joe to remind us, Peter. So no need to worry.
Oh yes. What is he?
He's got brains.
10 years younger.
He's 10 years young. Also, he was a computer man, so he's obviously terribly intelligent.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I know that.
Oh, yes, he was.
He could arrange this whole thing then.
Oh, he could do anything, yes. Absolutely anything.
Talking about Joe. So Joe can hear everything you're saying.
Oh, can he? Well, you cut off the bad things and make sure he can't hear those.
He's about 2 feet away from the mic.
Oh, dear, I see.
I see you've got a nice day there, David. The sun is glinting on the wall.
To who? You, me?
The sun, I can see the pattern of the sun on your wall.
Yeah, not us. It's been a downpour since I left this morning. But we needed the rain.
Oh, you're back again.
Yeah.
We never left you, Peter.
We're listening.
I've got nothing to say.
Wait, we didn't hear. You didn't come in clear. What did you just say? Can you hear us?
No, I can hear you, all right.
I can only hear in bits and pieces.
Can you hear us now? Well, Jessica, she's here. We'll get Jessica.
I think if you speak into the microphone, it's okay. It's
We are speaking into the mic.
Oh gosh.
But she's on top of everything. So John Winslow, he went on vacation for a couple of weeks. Where did he go? Canada or?
Oh, he did. He did. Yes, he got flown. He was hoping to get flights under his special arrangement with Qantas. But yes, he was going. He was going to Canada. Yes, that's right.
What did he? Was he going? Joe said, was he going to Alaska or was it just Canada? I don't know. And I talked to Joe Powell Sunday, and he sounded really good.
I've been meaning to speak to Joe. I must phone him tonight or later tomorrow.
Yeah, no, he sounded really good because he started talking about politics to me.
All right, okay. He wants to leave Europe. Wants us to leave Europe. So I don't talk to him about politics. So does Peter, mind you. They're both. I don't talk to either of them.
I don't know.
They're both totally misguided.
He's very strong-willed about it, but I don't understand sometimes what he's saying. So, but he sounded really good, and is still hoping to. He wants to go to the gym and exercise, but they won't let him.
Yes, I know. He's desperate to get home.
Yeah, I mean, but I was so happy that he was so clear, and he was just like regular Joe.
Yeah, it's lovely that you speak to him like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
it makes a big difference to him.
Sometimes his dialect is so thick. Remember when I wrote you, David, and I said, "Do you understand what he says?" Because sometimes I don't know what he's saying. But
No, I don't. I don't worry now.
Yeah, but he sounded good, and that's what was important.
Do you phone him, Marietta?
What?
Do you phone him, Jerry?
Well, I'm sorry. What? What? Who are you talking about? And you know what? You know what it is. People are coming in now, and they're talking.
Yeah, I can see them.
Wow.
Better not say anything wrong, then.
I will admit, we all have so much fun together, and I miss you guys so much.
Well, you tell us what to do, you see. That's what your fun is, I think.
I don't know. You got Joe here. Right, Joe's there.
Okay, Peter, you can talk now.
Okay. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
that's good. That's a first for this morning.
I must say, David, you look very professorial there.
We're still trying to get organized here.
These guys,
I'm going to be talked out by this time this begins, I think. How many books can you see behind me, David? I can't see any.
I can see about 20, 30 books there. They're all very sloppily arranged in the bookshelves, I must say. Actually, my books I can't find because I got our Polish cleaners to put them in the shelves, and because they didn't know what they were about. A lot of them were originally upside down.
How are you?
Professional.
I'm sorting them out slowly.
How are you?
That's a nice thing.
Say hi, Peter. Hi, David.
Hi, Peter. Hi, David.
Hello, hello.
What happened then?
Now they'll shut up for a few minutes.
Can you hear him?
It's gonna be tough getting in, you know, with the some delays. Yeah.
Out of that, Peter, his connection's pretty
Very cool.
Is Jessica there, Peter? Is Jessica there, Peter? Can you see?
I can't see Jessica at the moment.
I'm just going to disappear and get a glass of water.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll do the same thing.
Well, we better leave one, otherwise she'll think we're both quit. You go, then I'll go.
No, you go, David.
All right, I'll go quick. Come along.
Yeah, I'll come and get it in a moment. No, don't. I want some exercise.
but David was having issues. So right now we'll see how I'll switch it to David and we'll switch it to Peter. So they'll each go. I will just specify itself. The picture.
We've got a problem at a local tire water in the car.
Yeah, they have those sensors on.
They gave her Sullivan tire.
Needs air. Why do that? Change in the weather, they do that, and then you put a couple.
Might pick up a few here. You know, it's not the first.
So I'm back. You can go.
Oh, thank you. Right.
This is all hot.
So I think if you stand close enough, you can probably go at the same time, and you could even do this and just speak to both. There should be no feedback.
Be careful about feedback.
And I think because this is the computer and this is just the computer, we might be okay. If not, we just
See how it goes.
as long as we just. I was praying to the internet gods this morning.
I've done that quite a
Is
that okay? Is that what you have? The agenda. Read to the program. Do you need any help?
Yeah. She's going to talk after you.
No, I should. Ellie, it's okay. Then you continue with it.
Hi. Thursday, I'm going to college.
A week from today.
A week from today. Awards finish Friday. And where?
Great. Hey, Jessica, we've done a sound check. People can hear them.
Yes, they can, when they start speaking into their microphones, you can hear.
You can hear them back here. Where does it sound?
Both big speakers.
It's like a big movie.
How are you, Joe?
I thought I had you. We call this the snowball match? Oh.
No. What's that theoretically? You have the whole area?
Joe, you want us to get the chair, you just sit down there instead of standing there.
What do you got?
It's up to you. Like, sit, you got a chair.
Yeah, I would probably bring a chair over.
Yeah, I can pick up the chair from the
Well, he'll grab it.
Peter, I'm just going to leave again for a moment.
Okay.
Did you hear me,
Right.
Peter?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Back in a minute.
I think
Thank you all for coming. This is really exciting. Begin something. Not that Mayflower is new, but every it's new experience for us. And we have Ellie and some people from foundation, our staff, and others. Thank you for once again. This is extraordinary. And most importantly, 56 years ago, 8 years ago, 30 souls wanted to bought this where be the part alive. Joey, and of course, it worked. And it's an exciting opportunity for us to ask them questions about this moment in their lives. obviously will be our very who's our director of maritime operations. Thanks also to Jessica and of course ultimate spokesperson chasing these guys for 48 years. She was 5 years old. So with that, I will say this, having read through the wonderful story I'll share with us. I just want to just hold five or the balance of Europe. So discovered is able to determine when sending to the bucket of soup. So if there's anybody wrong, what happened? Here it is.
I'm back.
Yeah, I see.
Are we on screen in the hall, do you think?
Rather small. I can't really see how many have. Not full yet, that means. Oh, there we are. Getting it.
Can they see or something?
You've got you. Ah, back.
Hmm.
Dear friends, David Thorne, Peter Patfield,
I think that might be the.
and with us today, Joe Meany, the American Cat Book. These are actually men that sailed on Mayflower in the year 1957. Their stories were so all of us thinking of some of those stories.
It's a bit fuller now.
Good morning, David and Peter. Good morning, David and Peter. Can you hear me? This is Whit.
Hello.
Can hear you very well. Good afternoon from us.
Yeah, I'll say good afternoon.
Indeed. Well, we're going to start right in with some of the questions here, and I actually have a first question for David. I wanted to ask David, why did the Mayflower 2 attract so much interest around the world in 1957?
Well, in 1957, most of the world was rather a grim place, and in England, for example, we still had food rationing until 1956. So Mayflower was some light relief. It was nothing to do with war. It was fun, and of course, seeing a little sailing ship like that was going to excite everybody. And of course, America was of great interest to everybody because of the role of America in the war, and so it attracted a lot of attention internationally. Radio, newspapers, magazines, Time Life magazine, and Sports Illustrated, and Picture Post in England, and Paris Match in France, and so on.
Very good, and I imagine this was one of the first tall ships that was replicated to sail across the Atlantic in that time period.
Yeah, well, there weren't tall ships in those days. Sorry, you asked who we could Matt. Who was that question for?
Not really a question, just a statement. And now I have Marietta here for Peter.
The next question, I will address it to all three of you. Now start with Peter Patfield first. Peter, how did you hear about Mayflower 2, and why did you want to become a crew member?
I can't see you. I can't see you, Marietta, but I know what you look like. In 1955, I was third officer of the Strathmore, and this was one of a fleet of P&O passenger liners serving India and Australia in the Far East. And I was sitting in the wardroom, and I saw leafing through a magazine, and I saw an article about the building of the Mayflower under Commander Alan Villiers to recreate the voyage of the Pilgrim Fathers. So I'd always been interested in sailing ships, so I thought this was a brilliant thing to do. So I wrote to Villiers, and I posted it at our next port of call, which I think was Colombo. And the letter was addressed Commander Alan Villiers, Mayflower 2, London. And somehow that reached its target. And Villiers invited me to visit him in Oxford, where he lived. So the next time I was home, I visited him in Oxford. I particularly remember his book-lined study where the interview was held. And somehow or other, he invited me onto the crew. I think it was because I was in P&O, which he thought was a good line of company, and I didn't have a double-barreled name. And so I was invited onto the crew, and I thought I'd won the jackpot. It was terrific. There were thousands of other entries.
Thank you. Joe?
Good morning, good afternoon to my shipmates in the UK. It was the fall of '56 when the program very much was covered approached me and asked me if I wanted to be nominated for an international award that was American. They thought it'd be it was always up for what most now. Anyway, at that, after I found out about the nomination and development of Mayflower 2, I wanted the nomination. That's what I really wanted at that time when I had time to think about it. I wanted to put that on my first college application. That was my primary focus. I was happy to be ready to go to college. I didn't know where I was, and I didn't much visibility of that. Frankly, too much for the city. And it was probably, I'm going to say, February 7th. I found out that I was receiving the award in America. And then it's really went to hell fast. You can experience what it was and go everywhere, cancel for everything. But that's how I got involved. Why I wanted. And of course, the promise is baseball. It's our thing. Okay?
David? Can you hear me? David, can you hear me? David? Hi, David. Can you want me to...
Marietta, I can't hear. I can see you now. Yes, I'm here.
Yes. All right. Do you want me to repeat the question over?
Yes, keep close to the microphone.
How did you hear about Mayflower 2, and why did you want to become a crew member?
As Peter has said, Alan Villiers lived at Oxford, and by the way, Mary and I went to see. University card, which she received from all the plantation people with all the signatures. She was terribly pleased with it. Anyway, in 1956, Mike Ford and I were both studying at Oxford University. Well, we weren't studying; we were mostly sailing, I must say. But Mike was at University College. I was at Corpus Christi College, and the tradition was that the Dons would invite some distinguished person to dinner, and then after dinner, the tradition was that the speaker would give a little talk to the undergraduates. Anyway, University College invited Alan Villiers, and Mike thought that so many people would want to attend. He told me at the only outside University College, not being a member, that I could come, but I wasn't to tell anybody else. What happened was the talk was going to be in a little room in the basement of the college somewhere, a sort of stone cellar with no windows and stone steps down to it. It took about 30 or 40 people. And they kept the thing so quiet that there were terribly few people there. And after the dinner, one of the Dons came down to look into the room and was horrified to find that there was nobody there, and disappeared back up the stairs.
That's his connection.
And all these undergraduates sat down, and then Alan came and talked, and he talked about rope, and he was such a wonderful speaker that within about 2 minutes he had all this audience of rugby players and cricketers and anything but sailors eating out of his hand. And at the end of the talk, he said in his very rough voice that Peter and Joe will remember, "Any of you lads want to come on the Mayflower, because I'm going to skip her across to America?" And Mike and I put up our hands, and that's how I got on the ship. And why did I want to go? Because I'd sailed, and I sailed dinghies only, but I had actually visited America. For the Oxford, as the university had challenged American colleges to racing in 1954, and we sailed for the Sir Thomas Lipton Trophy. And we'd had a wonderful time in America, so it was a lovely opportunity to come back to the States.
Thank you, David. Okay, the next question is for Peter Padfield. Peter, can you tell us the story of the Mayflower mill that you were in charge of?
Yes, Villiers. I was told about this by Villiers when we were still loading the ship in Brixham. The ship was still loading with ballast and treasure chests and things, and he said I was to be male officer. I had no idea what he meant. But then, about 18 days out at sea in the middle of the Atlantic, I found out I was responsible for stamping and franking 30,000 stamped letters with Mayflower 2 at sea, or something like that, and 100,000 unstamped letters with the same frank. So I was a bit horrified by this, and every day I had to draw from Villiers boxes of envelopes, and I set up production lines on deck. So we had one chap tearing stamps out of a sheet of stamps, passing it on to the sticker-honor, who stuck it on an envelope, who then passed it on to the stamper, who franked who franked it with this Mayflower frank. And then he tossed it to the sorter, who sorted it in a little box. Well, there are 100,000 of these things to do. I mean, it was a mind-boggling exercise. But I got rival production lines going, and they tried to outdo each other and stamp each other's thumbs and so on. And I even got some of the idlers from the afterguard who ate in the great cabin to come and say, including Warwick Charlton. That's the story of the mail. But it was all a wheeze of Warwick Charlton's to raise money, because in those days, as David has told you, Britain was pretty well broke. Still on rations. We had to have ration books for meat, sugar, butter, everything. And donations were hard to come by, except, I believe, from Americans. But as Warwick Charlton was giving this ship as a gift to America from Great Britain, he refused to take any donations from Americans. So we had this stamp lark, which raised a lot of money from stamp collectors. And another thing he did was had 17th century treasure chests designed, and he invited British manufacturers and clothes makers to fill these chests, and then Mayflower would take them over to America, where they would be exhibited as the best of British. And this raised, I think, he charged for this service, and this raised about £30,000 of the 100,000 he needed to get the ship built and across to America. Anyway, to return to the envelopes, we eventually got through them all after 10 days, and as a final sort of gesture, I was raised on shoulders of two stout men. Is there a fire?
No, it's just my telephone.
Well, just to finish this off, if, David, I'm surprised at you.
Apologies.
Yes, I was raised on the shoulders of two stout men to cheers of all around, and I put the final stamped and franked envelopes in a box. And then Villiers came out and gave me a bottle of whiskey and 2 bottles of rum and told me to splice the main brace. If you know what that is, that's an old Navy custom of drinking rum. And he said to me, I thought they were going to chuck you overboard. No, he said, I thought you were going to chuck you overboard. I think that's the story of that.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
It's not me this time.
That was a cold call.
Oh dear. I'm glad you suffered. I'm glad you suffered as well.
Okay, well, I'm going to and Joe, I want to ask you a question. Marianne has told me a little bit about this, but Joe, can you tell us about Felix?
Okay, Felix, there was one other stowaway, and this was a little kid. I don't know exactly how the kitten found its way on board in Wrexham. I've got a good idea, but I really don't know. Felix spent the whole voyage with his dog. He was with us and at the end of the voyage, hearing all the ship to go get food and went there for the night, for 3 months. Then I was talking, and we didn't really feel social. I think, for obvious reasons. Felix endeared himself to the whole crew as he expected. And it turned out, since I was the only one that had a home nearby, I ended up giving Felix to my girlfriend, who's now my wife for the last 50-something years. And she took him home, and he survived for a good 4+ years. He fought cancer for him. I don't know if he's got any offspring roaming around at all him, but it was a good, if he was like any of the other crew members, there were a few. But that's the story of Felix.
And I have seen pictures of 57 little life-saving device that the crew made for the cat.
Yeah, the one.
I've left it. Oh.
Can you hear me, David?
I can hear you, yes. Thank you.
So, being who I am always most interested in food. Can you tell me about the food on the voyage?
I can. I remember it well. Well, in fact, I think for most of us on the voyage, that's all we were interested in was food. What Wally Godfrey, the cook, was going to give us for lunch or breakfast or dinner was all we thought about. And for the ship's crew in the 50-50 club, the food was awful. You have to remember that the ship had a proper hierarchy. Captain Villiers was a proper captain. Say ordinary sailors such as myself, and even Peter was relegated to an ordinary sailor in those days, did not address the captain. We would never have spoken to Alan Villiers if he hadn't spoken to us. So the ship was divided into two as far as eating and any recreation was concerned, although we mixed up on the deck. The officers and the afterguard, that is the writers and photographers, and of course Warwick Charlton, who created the ship, had her built, ate in the grand cabin, and they were looked after by Joe. And the working crew, who were known as the 50-50 Club because a well-known London shipping correspondent for the London Daily Mail newspaper said we only had a 50-50 chance of getting to America. And so our where we ate down under where the tiller swept across the deck, we ate on a big table there. We named it the 50-50 Club. And the food for the grand cabin, I think, was probably rather good because Wally was a proper professional sea cook, and he looked after them as best possible. And they had such delicacies as tinned hares, and he baked fresh bread every day. We in the 50-50 Club had the food that he didn't think he could give to the ship's. Spread our day, got morning, but and what Peggy did, Peggy was whoever was on watch whose duty it was to bring the food down to the 50-50 Club. The first thing Peggy did was to throw all the eggs overboard, and what we mostly ate was porridge. And as someone said, it was porridge that kept our ribs apart. And I remember Jan Juncker, my mate, on one day when it was rather rough, we were feeling seasick. He said we should eat porridge because he said in Denmark, he said, if he says that porridge tastes the same going both ways, which it did. Wally did cook one delicacy for the afterguard for the 50-50 Club, and those were tabnabs, and they were like rock cakes, but without any currants. but even they tasted so nice that we used to have tremendous fights over who'd had more than their fair share of tabnabs. I must say I don't want to criticise Wally in any way. He was a fine sea cook, but of course all he had was a paraffin stove, and there was Mayflower too was absolutely primitive. There was no running water, and no hot water other than what Wally boiled in a pan. There was no refrigerator, of course, and with the stores that he had, he did terribly well, and it was a substantial job, and he had actually in Fleet Street, and was a friend of Warwick Charlton's, and had come as assistant cook. And as second assistant cook, he had Jack Scarr, who was an English teacher, a French teacher at a rather fine English public school, what you would call a private school. And I can remember on watch every day you would hear Wally calling from the gallery, Jack Scarr, Jack Scarr, and Jack Scarr would have to come running, and Wally would want him to go down into or porridge or flour to make tabnabs. But anyway, they did a wonderful job with what they'd got.
Very good, very good. We're going to move on with Marietta. Has a question for Peter.
And Peter, how did the ship feel underway? How was the sailing?
Well, Marietta, I had never heard about the good food that Villiers got, I must say. But the Mayflower was totally different from a steamship at the helm. I mean, she was like a live creature underneath your feet. When the sails were set with balance for the wind direction and the course you were steering, she could almost steer herself. But there are other days, and I think there are more than the quiet days, when she was like a wild thing, jumping from side to side and leaping around, and you had to turn the wheel quickly in one direction, then the other, sometimes as many as 10 turns of the wheel each way. And if you did that, of course, Villiers would soon come out of his cabin and say, "Don't use so much helm, Mr. Padfield." And we seemed to spend a lot of time sailing full and by, which meant you had to keep the sails full, but point her up into the wind as much as you could without keeping the sails full and without getting the wind on the wrong side of the sails. And so you had to keep a very keen eye on the topsail, the leading edge of the topsail. And at the slightest shiver in the topsail, you had to ease her off the wind so you didn't get caught aback. And this is particularly difficult on a dark night when you couldn't see the topsails. And I found the concentration you needed on a dark night to sail full and high was something quite special. But when one was off watch and she was snorting along under a full press of sail, and the green Atlantic rollers were rolling behind white tops, and above you you had these beautiful curves of the sails. There was nothing like it. It was exhilarating, like being on a Swiss mountain, and I can certainly recommend it. I took my sketchbook with me, and I used to go up off watch into the rigging or up the and try and sketch the beauty of the curves, the arcs of the sails against the sea and the taut rigging. So she was a brilliant sailor. She went along about 7 knots most of the time and went with a fresh wind. Have I time to tell you about the gale? Do you want to hear about the gale, or are we running out of time?
How's your time?
Definitely.
Yes, please.
Well, we were nearly off the American coast. I think it was about June the 9th. We were nearly there, and the wind and the seas were getting up all day. And when I went on watch at about 7, the main hatch had been battened down, lifelines had been rigged right along the deck, and most of the sails furled except the mainsail and the spritsail. And I went on watch to the wheel at this time, and Villiers came out, and he gave 3 peeps on his whistle. This meant all hands on deck. So all hands came on deck, and he gave the order, take in the main and the spritsail. Well, the mainsail came up quite easily, and it was furled. But the spritsail proved impossible to furl. The wind kept catching in pockets of the sail. And like a flash, Joe Lacey and Andy Lindsay, who was a square rig sailor from Maine, and Beric Watson and Adrian Small, the second mate, were running out along the bowsprit and then onto the spar holding the spritsail, which was sometimes dipping almost right into the sea. And they were pushing ropes around, and they managed to catch the sail so that she was no more problem. But that was one of the most spontaneous, bravest acts I've ever witnessed. Because if they'd just lost their footing for a second, they'd have been under the ship. The bow would have just gone over them. When all the sail was off, Villiers told me he was going to try something they did in the 17th century to settle her down. And he said, hard starboard on the wheel. Now, the wind was on the starboard beam, and I had to put the wheel hard to starboard, as it were, turn her up into the wind. But the wind and the sea pushed the bows off the course she was trying to make, and then the wind, acting on this enormous stern superstructure, took her back again up into the wind. And that is how she stayed all night, as they used to like to in the 17th century. And then he told me to lash the wheel hard to starboard. I did, and so we survived the gale through the night.
Very good. That sounded exhilarating and very scary. Enough of listening for Joe. Joe, what did the crew do for fun? You were out at sea for quite a while. What did the crew do for fun?
That's a hard one because some of us would say we didn't have fun, but the thing I remember the most, and I think the thing that the crew members looked forward to a lot, was when we were in the tropics in Pecan. As much as Villiers and Warwick were distressed because they had a schedule to get here. We liked it in the tropics because when we were Pecan, the skipper would let us go swimming. And if you imagine it, 90-degree weather, and we've seen a little bit of that in the last few days here. Getting into the water in the tropics when there's no land within, like 900 miles plus at that point was very relaxing and very refreshing. And that was probably what I think was one of the most enjoyable things we had the chance of doing. We even took a few of the crew members who couldn't swim. We got them in the water. They wanted to go in the water too, of course, because everyone was having a lot of fun. But we had to rig a rope and pulley and a life jacket for them, and they went in with a line attached. But that was probably the most exhilarating and fun times that I can think of.
David, this question is for you. Sunday service was conducted by Captain Gooders. Can you describe what that was like?
Yes, Alan was, I think, a devout man himself, and he conducted a Sunday service on the quarterdeck every week. I think once we attended in pilgrim costume. I suspect that was for the photographers. But he would read the lesson for the week. He would also read us a chapter from Governor Bradford's book, and he would talk to us about the Pilgrim's voyage and also about how our own voyage was going. And they were always solemn and memorable occasions, and they formed something of a focal point for the week. I think that's all I can say on that.
Thank you. Peter, when you arrived in Plymouth, how did you feel about thousands of people lining the shores to greet you, surrounded by all that television and motion picture cameras?
Quite terrified. No, I found it overwhelming. I mean, most of the other members of the crew, I don't know about David, but they were looking forward to the end of the voyage as we neared the American coast. But I found it so pleasant, this sail in this peculiar vessel, cut off from the 20th century, no television, no news of any sort, and only your own watch to sort of talk to. I found this very pleasant. I didn't actually want to get there, but I must say, when we did get there, it was overwhelming when we got to Plymouth. And I particularly remember being chauffeured around Plymouth by lovely, lovely young girls in very extraordinarily long Plymouth convertibles with extraordinary soft suspensions. And that's one thing I remember. The other thing I remember is the first shower we had, because at sea we had just been putting a bucket over the side and pulling up seawater to wash with. And the other thing I remember, of course, is the first fresh food we had, which was pretty marvelous, as David said. But the folk of Plymouth made us they were so generous and hospitable. I was billeted with Andy Anderson Bell and David Corbin in a lodge in the grounds of the Lothrop Withington's home, just outside Plymouth, and they treated us just as their own family. So when I got used to this, I was quite glad we had arrived. Yes, after a fortnight of this splendid hospitality, we were towed down to Newport, Rhode Island, and then to New York. In New York, we were welcomed again and treated and given a ticker-tape reception down Broadway. I must say, I didn't know whether it was Broadway or not. I was totally overwhelmed by the whole thing. And that was the end of the voyage. But it wasn't the end of the voyage so much as the crew, after that, kept on attending reunions every year, every 5 years or so, and keeping together. And I think it was a tremendous tribute to Alan Villiers that he not only sailed this extraordinary vessel right across the Atlantic, but he had picture crew who got on so well together. And that is, I think, one of the great tributes to him.
Thank you.
know Mayflower 2 has arrived at Plymouth, and I wanted to ask, how did sailing aboard Mayflower 2 influence your life?
I can only say that it influenced the entire rest of my life because it was the weekend before it was published. And then as you just expect, with college and my professional career, it was all something I didn't really expect at that point. Being a shipwright and a pool type at the Rose Club in Walden, my toughest job was summer lifeguard, and all. And all I can say is getting the degree was very instrumental in my career and job. My degree was I did graduate from university with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. And then after that, when I started working, thinking that I wanted to work on electronics, so I went to Northeastern and picked up an MBA. And look at that.
Hello?
In a very positive
Now, for David, if you can hear me here. I too think it's extraordinary what Villiers and what you folks did in 1957, bringing that ship across the Atlantic. And now in 2015, David, I want to ask you, why is it so important to tell the Mayflower 2 story after 58 years? Why is it so important to tell the Mayflower 2 story now?
Well, before I answer that, I'd just like to add to what Peter said about arriving. I certainly didn't want to arrive. The voyage was so magical. And when I arrived, I was looked after by George and Mary Olson and their sons, Dexter and Philip. And George was the secretary of the Plymouth plantation. And Dexter and I sailed together in the States for a couple of years after scoundrel in ships. About the ship, I think there were three things to say. One is that the ship was a really historic ship in her own right, because she was a Jacobean era ship. She was she was not a replica in that nobody knows exactly what the Mayflower looked like, but she was Mayflower 2 was a genuine recreation of a Jacobean ship, and authentic. A tool. It wasn't something that she was built by Devon craftsmen who knew how to build a wood ship. She was rigged with ropes that were. She had 12 tons of hemp rope. The rope was laid as it by a rope maker that was formed in the beginning of the 18th century, and they renewed techniques that had been used 150 years before. They brought in some old retired rope makers to help them. The sails were made by Webster's, who made the flax sails for the big square rig trade ships of the latter part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. And I think they were described as being, I've forgotten the words, I'll just look. They were described as as being as durable and as almost impenetrable as chain mail. It wasn't there. The sails were immensely tough. So this is quite different from modern replica. I mean, modern replica would naturally have Dacron ropes. She'd have Dacron perhaps reinforced with carbon fiber sails. They would look authentic, but they would not be authentic. But the ship, so Mayflower 2 is a very valuable historic vessel in her own right, and of course she'll become more valuable as the years go by. I think the second thing about her was that her voyage was a recreation of a Jacobean voyage, eloquently described by Peter, I must say, and the reason that it was very special was because Mayflower 2 had no engine. She had no means of propulsion other than the sails, and a square-rigged ship that has no engine can be taken by the tide onto the rocks, smashed onto the rocks in a storm. I mean, she's utterly dependent on the caliber of her crew, and I don't think there will be another such voyage across the Atlantic, because the US Coast Guard and European Community regulations would require that any replica ship have either an engine aboard or at least have an accompanying tug. And so her voyage, I think, was the last such voyage, and was very special. The third thing to say is that, as I said, the safety of the nucleus of sailors that we had on the ship, who really knew how to handle square rigs. You could never find them again, because they were men of their trade and their era. Their trade. And they were men of their time. They could not be found again. And so I think those things make Mayflower 2 and her voyage historic. And certainly it's very important, I think, that the story should be told and preserved. And I just made a note of one thing, which was that Ellie had said that Marietta's work was important to, I'm quoting her, to preserve the ship and its story for future generations. And I think there is a problem there that I'm thinking about, and I'm going to write an article for Plymouth Life when I've tried to think it out, which is that Plymouth Plantation has two historic vessels. She's got Mayflower, the original Mayflower, 1620 Mayflower, and her story, which is what the plantation is all about. But she's now got a historic ship, Mayflower 2, in her own right, and her story, and how that can be told and as Ellie wants, without impinging on her main task, which is to tell all Americans of all ages and future generations about how the Pilgrims got to America, but at the same time preserve the story of Mayflower 2 is a problem.
Okay, thank you, David. That's the end of our formal questions that we have for you guys. We do have some questions from the audience of things they may have thought about.
Does anybody have any questions that you would like to address? And who would you like to address it to? What was the average age of the crew? Right? And David, while you're there, what was the average age of the crew? Can you hear me?
David, what was the average age of the crew?
Oh gosh, I've never thought about it. I should think middle age. We had some quite elderly people aboard. One of the sailors about whom I've spoken was Harry Sowerby, who didn't last very long after the voyage. we had Edgar Muggeridge, who was the Devon carpenter. He looked like a Devon tree trunk himself. He must have been in the 70s. And then we had young people, mere lads such as well, we had Joe, our Joe Meany, and our other cabin boy Graham Nunn, and Mike Ford and myself, and young Peter was about the same age, I think. So I would think the average age was probably, I'm guessing, about 40.
Next question. Who has a question here? And
Can you describe what it was like growing up in the rigging, and how did you learn to, go up there, climb up there, rope sails and all that?
answer that, Jeff?
Well, I learned primarily from motivation because Graham and I didn't want to spend the whole voyage just serving the officers and guests in the main cabin. So we wanted to, learn the ship and participate on regular watch and everything of that nature. Of course, if you don't know the rigging and you don't know much about the ship, it's hard to understand very much. But Adrian Swall, the second mate, had daily classes for Graham and myself. And he took us all the thing. We had to draw the complete rigging of and label it of a square rig ship, and the clipper ships of that time. We went higher than the topsail, so we had to go through the full drill with Adrian. But Adrian was a good teacher, and by the end of the voyage, Graham and I split the serving duty in the main cabin, and we had it down well enough that one of us could do it at each meal. So the other one could be standing a watch. So we were both standing a regular watch by the time the voyage was over. But it was a lot of learning, and Adrian was a hell of a good teacher.
This will be for Peter Patfield.
How close to the wind would Mayflower sail in the 100 degrees?
You hear that, Peter?
So Peter, one of our guests are asking, how close to the wind would Mayflower sail?
Ah,
How close hauled when you were sailing full and by? How hard could you press her up into the wind?
well, that, I don't think I can answer that precisely, but certainly not more than 2.5 to 3 degrees, I should think. No, what am I talking about? 25 to 30 degrees into the wind, I would imagine, because she had very bluff bows, and the sails were very baggy, and it was difficult to keep them full. But that's just off the top of my head. I actually can't remember. I don't know if David can. Can you remember, David?
Well, because she might have pointed in that direction, but she would have made so much leeway that I don't think she could really effectively go to windward closer than 10 degrees to the wind, and in effect she could hardly go to windward at all.
The question is, what is it like going through the Gulf Stream? Number one. And number two, what methods of navigation? Celestial?
Would like to answer that one?
So Peter, another question coming to you would be, what type of navigation did you use coming across, and Alan and his mates use?
I wasn't navigating on the Mayflower, but Adrian Small, the second mate, used a normal sextant and a chronometer. In fact, he used the usual method of navigation in those days. But we did carry a 17th century cross staff, which was a sort of precursor of the sextant, where you could measure the angle of the sun above the horizon at midday. And I saw him using it. I saw other people trying to use it, but I don't think they navigated by it. I think they used an ordinary sextant and a chronometer. And then they had, of course, the log line to find out how many miles they had been for their deduced reckoning.
Sure. And then another part of that question, they wanted to know what it was like when you came across the Gulf Stream.
The Gulf Stream, it was rather calm. As I remember it, we actually went into the Sargasso Sea and saw all this seaweed bunched up with little crustaceans, crabs. I don't know if you remember that, David, but it seemed to me that that was a period of calmness in the doldrums almost. Would you agree with that?
Well, Peter, you're the navigating officer. I'm not. So I hate to say that. I think the Sargasso Sea was a bit before the Gulf Stream, and but I remember crossing the Gulf Stream, and I remember that the difference in colour of the water was striking. We came from a blue sea to a green sea, or would it be the other way around? But it was very striking, and but it was not rough, as Peter said.
Very good.
We're going to take one more question, and I saw a hand up over here.
Peter, you mentioned turning the wheel.
So Peter, we're asking a question on, Richard wanted to know why, or did the ship, it had a ship's wheel rather than using the whipstaff steering, is that correct?
That's right. She should have had a whipstaff, I think. A whipstaff is a long timber coming up through the quarterdeck, but attached to the tiller. And when you pull it one way or the other, so the tiller moves one way or the other. But we had a proper wheel with rope pulleys to the tiller. I mean rope purchases to the tiller, to the end of the tiller. And so when Vinny said put the wheel down, we actually turned it to starboard, the other way, because a whipstaff you would have had to pull to starboard, I think. But this is going back so long in my memory.
Yeah, understood. We were just asking about the wheel itself, and as you mentioned, it was almost 10 turns stop to stop.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was extraordinary how much you had to turn it. So the purchases, the rope purchases to the tiller must have been quite extraordinary to allow you to turn it 10 times.
Very good. I think that's going to be it for the questions right now. We did want to, don't go away yet, Peter and David. And I want to bring Ellie up, who wants to say hello to you and our audience. You stand over here a little bit. There, right there, yeah.
Can you see me?
Hello.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, Ellie.
Hi,
Lovely
David.
to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm sorry I have to turn my back for a moment. Da, da, da. You're both good sides, so don't worry. Hi, everyone. I'm Ellie Donovan. I'm the Executive Director of Plymouth Plantation, and I want to thank our very special guests, Peter Padfield, David Thorpe, and Joe Meany, three of the gentlemen who brought Mayflower. A really special visit with you. I'm sorry. I'm just excited and happy. And I also want to thank, before you guys leave, Peter Frame and Ted Hubbard. Peter Frame was way too modest, and also didn't introduce himself. For those of you who don't know, Peter Frame is one of our trustees and the chairman of the governance committee. And a few months ago, he had this idea and Ted ran with it, and they kept saying, Ellie, they kept saying, can we do this? Can we talk to these guys in England? And thanks to Jessica and Whit and Marietta and Tom Bakley, yes, the answer is yes. And if you're frustrated by little delays in Google's intercontinental communication, just think of what the Pilgrims, of course, had to do, waiting a year or more to hear from friends and family back in England or Holland, or these guys cranking envelopes out in the middle of the ocean. So communication has certainly changed, and it's interesting that we get frustrated by a 5-second, 10-second lapse. Oh, that's taking so long. So we want to say goodbye to our friends, and then we have one little clip of a video to show when these guys sign off. So let's say goodbye. Goodbye from everyone here, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Okay.